Yo, can y'all hear me? Y'all there? Greetings and thank you for joining with us for this episode of the Method Makers Podcast. In this episode, we'll be traveling through the heart of Peruvian artist, tattoo designer, vegan, all around kind, creative, and amazing human being, mi hermano, Stefano Alcantara. We'll be talking about our mutual friendships that brought us together, growing up in Peru, and what it was like as a kid growing up during times of war. A deeper look into what inspires the art he creates, the navigation through the challenges of life, and what brought him into the space he's in now. So hold on tight and enjoy the ride into the heart of Stefano Alcantara. The audience should still be able to hear you. Audience in Instagram world, can y'all hear us? You guys hear us okay? Anybody out there? Give us a thumbs up. Adjust.
No.
Let's see here. Yep, I got a thumbs up. Thank you, Edgar. Appreciate you.
Awesome.
Simone, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Luisa, thank you so much. All right. All right,
Good.
Chuck.
Awesome. Now we're in business. I think that the landscaping is already gone
All right.
or leaving soon. So yeah, I think that's it.
Okay. So we're gonna start. We had a little warm-up introduction. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. Season 1 of the Method Makers Podcast. I am your host, Neil, and I'm here with artist, amazing human being, friend, tattoo extraordinaire, the one, the only, Stefano Alcantara. Stefano, welcome, bro.
Thank you for the warm introduction. I didn't expect that, but yeah, thank you.
Yeah, man. So, like what we were saying earlier, I've been following your work since Akira introduced me. Akira's a really, really good friend of mine. I will say that creatively, spiritually, metaphysically, he is just an amazing human being. And I will say, with the deepest, sincerest gratitude in all the love that I have in my heart, that he is an amazing person. And I think the fact that you and I are talking right now would not be possible without Akira. So shout out to you, Akira, if you're out there. You guys got to go check him out. His Instagram is Akira Beard, at Akira Beard. But yeah, so thank you, first of all. So tell us, I guess the big question on my mind, I'm going to kind of jump around because I think when you and I touched base yesterday, I asked, hey, do you want me to send you some questions or do you want to just keep it free flowing? So I think we're going to use this period of time to try and keep it free flowing.
For sure.
So yeah, so this my first question is, your tattoo work is amazing. Like, I've seen posts like with our social media team. We've been giving them content like from your feed, and it's just amazing, man. Like the photorealistic work that you do. I've also seen like some of the freehand tattoo work that you've done. I think we posted an image of the girl that was swimming, the naked woman swimming with the octopus going up the side of her body. Oh my god, dude, it's just
Thank you.
amazing work.
Thank
Tell
you.
us
Thank
a
you.
little bit about your journey. Like, did you start with photorealistic tattoo art, or how did that come about?
Well, first, thank you, and I want to just say something about Akira also,
Okay.
that I think is also I agree every word you said about Akira, and I was so excited when he decided to be a tattoo artist,
Yeah.
and that he is now, and I'm so proud of his really fast learning and devotion to the tattoo art now. And I had no doubt since the beginning of his capability to do it like in that, you know, perfect fashion, you know, like he and also as a person, I think he actually matched, and also he brought this kind of soul to the team of Florida, that he's actually a great guide for many of the artists at the shop now, that I'm so happy about that, and I want to thank Akira for that.
Yeah. So
And,
I'm on the West Coast, and it's 7 a.m. my time. I get up at 5 a.m. to join his daily meditations that he does, and it's an inspiring, beautiful place. Even though it's virtual,
mhm,
it's sending healing across the internet, bro. It's like, you connect with people on that level that are deep, that are metaphysically empowered to help each other, through the challenges of what's happening, right? With so much things that's happening in the world, from COVID-19 to Black Lives Matter, to like the social justice, social change things that are happening. The election is crazy, man. Like even the fires that are happening here in the Bay Area. There's so much to be said for bringing a group like that together. And I think the thing that Akira does really well is he's also a community leader. Like he's somebody that he's a method maker. That's what we define as method makers. Folks like
mhm.
yourself who find a community of creators and and allow them to establish themselves in a way where they can make a living and also help the communities that they support as well. So yeah, it's a beautiful thing, man, for sure.
Yeah,
Um,
that's what is happening right now. So it's a beautiful thing to to be in some way, you know, like being a spectator of what's going on of this community, you know.
yep, yep.
um I didn't join you guys for the meditation at that time, because doesn't I'm not functioning at that time in the day.
Yeah, right. Like,
uh,
like I asked, I think when I was messaging you, I was like, I'm up early because my daughter wakes up around 8:30 ish, and so I typically have to help relieve my wife by that time. So I try to do all my work before the girls wake up, and so I have to be an early person. That's just like what I got to do. And then you're like, you know what? I will try to be awake at the time because you're trying to do this an hour earlier. So, um, but I appreciate you taking the time, like honestly, because I,
oh, cool.
we all function on certain levels of the time of day and things like that. Um,
Yeah.
so I appreciate you for taking that time.
Well, thank you very much for you taking the time to interview me, you know. Or even the, no, I don't think it's an interview. I think it's more like a chat than
Yeah,
interview.
it's like if we had a fireplace here, and it wasn't like virtual, then we'd be talking over the fire, maybe at a bonfire at a beach.
I
And,
promise that next time we do a live video, I will have a fire, and we'll be outside.
yeah, that'd be beautiful, man. That'd be beautiful. I look forward to it.
Even if it's virtual.
So, I was looking through your site. I tried to Google you, like I did the creepy thing where you try to find as much as you can about people on the internet. Um,
Hmm.
one of my best friends, uh, is actually Peruvian. He unfortunately had passed many years ago, and I think at some point I'd love to get a tattoo of him. I think a lot of our friends would love to get a tattoo of him. Maybe we'll bring them all to your shop and have them line up. um,
That'd be great.
but he was a really good friend of mine. His name was Aldo Francisco Bazalar, and
Hmm.
he's half Peruvian, half Mexican. And so I've never been to Peru, but going there someday and visiting some of the friends that we actually have out there in Lima um, is one of the goals that myself and my wife have. You talk a little bit about your upbringing. What was life like where you grew up in Peru, and how is that connected to your creativity?
Yeah, definitely. Peru made me. You know, Peru made the person I am now. in every single way. You know, I am born and raised there. Um, I grew up with some struggles that that was not, you know, uh, like it's a unique situation that I was living in Peru, and most of the kids and older than of my generation, that we have a very hostile country at the moment. Um, but me as a kid living that kind of situation, um, we didn't take it as serious as I think it was at that moment. You know, I'm an adult now, and I at that moment for me was not as serious. I think because I was a kid.
Hmm. That's
But
all you knew,
that
probably.
say it again.
That's all you knew. Like you don't know
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah,
difference.
yeah.
That's how you grew up.
Exactly, exactly. And sometimes when this happening right now in the world, it kind of helped me to actually go back to certain experience that we had. Um, we, I said about all Peruvians who we live back in the 80s, um, that we have some kind of like a little bit of a like a shield or some kind of a tolerance to rough situations that we are actually or at least me myself I take the best of every bad situation and try to be optimistic of every struggle. If I was in a lockdown, we were in a quarantine, so in my mind it's a good moment for me to rest. I was trying to look the positive in every bad situation that we were living,
Yeah.
and so on, like many others, I don't try to look on in the negative, on the negative of the situation. If not, if I would do that, I think I will be hurting my mental on top of what is going on. So I used to try to keep myself not going to the negative. If it has sense, that's what I learned from Peru and being in those tough situations. That for me, I remember those times with we had no electricity or stuff like that. That put our family together more as to be all of them in one room, with the candles and hearing bombs in the background,
Yeah.
stuff like that. So it was like for me, that was a beautiful moment of unity of my family. We were all together in one room. Now everybody's in a different room, in a different TV, in a different device, and with a different lives.
Yep.
But I think that was, and we were so excited that when it was this bombs, boom, and then the light, it was a blackout, and then we were so excited as kids. We bring our mattresses to my parents' room. Me and my brother, we came to the mattress, put it in, in the at the, at the around the bed of
Yeah.
them, bring the candles, and we kind of have this moment putting candles. We were having fun putting candles every other room, and we start to develop playing board games, or even like we were, what we were doing that actually I thought I should do it now. um, we have the Crayolas, the color Crayolas,
Right.
and we start melting it in the candles
Hmm.
and creating these colorful candles.
Oh.
And we spent hours doing that. And you know what? We were in our own world, Like
Yeah.
I think like those kind of things like build the person that I am now. That I try to be more enthusiastic and not like I don't put limits in certain things that people say, "Oh man, this is hard." No, it's not hard, man. Always try to be positive. That's what the person I am because what I lived earlier in Peru. That's the point I just want to put across because um, really I think everything in life is for a reason. And I have to live that to be the person I am now do what I know in general, in my art, in my studios, and that's it, everything.
Yeah. I believe and I agree with you that life challenges and things that test us are the things that create the ability for us to do extraordinary things. Like I will say that, um, for instance, we have launched. Like I'm reporting to you live from what's known as the Method Made Design Lab, and
Hmm.
really we converted our garage into a studio because of the quarantine, right? You can't go into the public, like everyone's got to stay home. So what do, right? Like the challenge of taking what is a bad situation. There are people who are dying because of this disease, and I unfortunately have someone, one of my uncles, who passed away in July because of the disease, and so
Hmm.
it's a very challenging time. But the beauty that's come out of it is that I'm able to focus my time and effort and energy into cultivating so much of this work. Spent I spent the better half of almost 21 years brand consulting, working on brands, working with artists, and doing all this stuff, but always had a full time job, and
Hmm.
that's how I had to support my creativity. And now the beautiful thing of the quarantine and actually getting laid off from the job that I have right now.
Hmm.
It's allowed me the ability to now focus 100% of my time on this. So now, like every week, uh,
Wow.
recording like five, 4 or 5 podcasts a week, and
Wow.
the content that we're creating, it's what we're doing right now, live on Instagram with Stefano.
Right.
So
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome.
so like challenges, just in general, what you're talking about with Peru. Um, Allow you to have the ability to navigate those things, right? Like if you don't have any life challenge, it's hard to speak from conviction or experience if you don't have the experience to really go through it, right? So to everybody out there on Instagram world or listening to this podcast, like you got to go through some shit to really know what it's like to have grit, to have the experience, like go out there, get dirty, get hurt, whatever it
Mhm.
is. And I won't. This is not about me. This is about you right now. So I won't talk about my whole life, right? But
No,
I
I'm sure a lot of people wanna hear it too. So
well, I will say that I can only imagine what it's like, and maybe even for the folks that are out there in Peru that might be watching this right now. Shout out to you guys if you're out there struggling. If there's anyone out there that may also be um, struggling with family or friends, that are suffering from depression, anxiety, or issues that are related to COVID-19, part of
right,
the hashtag that we're using, the TMMDL, social distance, that's the Method Makers Design Lab, social distance is the TMMDL part. It's to highlight social issues like this. I was on a call with my other brother, Gats. His Instagram is GatsPTV,
hmm,
and we were talking about how there are so many people right now in society that are so depressed because they can't do the things that they used to be able to do. You can't, like some people can't even go, like not everyone can go into the same grocery store at the same time. Like you got people waiting in line just to get inside, right? And
okay,
like people are just tired of having to wear masks, but it's like, would you rather be alive and safe, or would you rather take the risk with your life and potentially die because you didn't want to wear a mask? You know what I mean? So
right,
we're highlighting just this small, like we don't need to be wearing masks like over video because obviously
right now,
you know
of
but
course,
it's the theme of highlighting this is the sign of the times, like social distancing is real and we need to like adhere to that. um and going back to the story of my brother Gats, he was
hmm,
talking about how um, somebody had messaged him because he had painted a mural, I think in Portland, outside, and there was a woman or a man or somebody who messaged him and said, I was actually thinking about suicide, and then I walked outside and I saw your mural, and I just stood there and I looked at it, and it gave me hope. like the beauty of what's actually outside, you know.
Wow. Do you remember what was the mural? Like, I would love to see that mural.
Um, I will ask him. I'll hit him up today and ask. But if you follow his Instagram in the group that there's a private group that we have, the
Yeah.
TMMDL social
Mm-hmm.
distance group.
Mm-hmm.
I purposely added all you guys into that private group because I wanted everyone to follow each other,
Mm-hmm.
and just to see each other's work, maybe interact, find a way to. At some point, I want to have a live session similar to this where maybe we do it live on Instagram and all of us can sketch and do our art together and share it
Mm-hmm.
with the world. And that'd be a way for everyone to kind of connect and actually have the world see what we do as quote unquote method makers, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, man, I think it's a beautiful thing, and I feel like people don't realize how bad it is. Like nobody in our lifetimes has ever been through a pandemic. The last pandemic that happened in the U.S. was the Spanish flu, and nobody's alive from the Spanish flu, right? Like that was like 100 years ago. But the
Right.
hope, the hope though, is that this shit is not forever. Like the Spanish flu came and it went, right? And then we had 100 years of peace, right? I mean, there was other shit that happened, but not as bad as this.
Mm.
And so that's the hope, right? Like it's good to stay positive because like this shit is not forever.
No, 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 it's not forever. And it's been and it's going to be more and it's we're gonna start living with this forever, you know.
Yeah.
It's just a different breed of a virus that in tattoo world, like we do a lot of cross contamination
Yeah.
courses every year in every city. We go for conventions and stuff,
Hmm.
and part of the um, the cleaning products we have, like a Maracide and everything for in between tattoos and or clean over materials, is a coronavirus being for decades, in on the product. So it's something that is going always been with us, and this is a different one, of course,
Yeah.
19, but also it's gonna come more,
Hmm.
everything mutates, everything change, everything, we will have that our life but also,
Yep.
so we are survivors, I think.
Yeah. The strong will survive, just like your story of Peru.
Sure.
You have to go through the struggle and the hardship of life, and I think the more radically that you can accept those challenges, the more better that you'll be able to get through them. And you
Hmm.
live to tell the story. And I think that's the key. um, so yeah, I guess the next question I had was, can you talk a little bit about what it was like? I mean, I read your bio and it said something about how growing up, comic books influenced you. I feel like a lot of us, it like the method makers, we all kind of have very similar influences growing up as a kid. Like comic books, for me,
Hmm.
it was. Did you ever have Image Comics? I know there's probably Marvel and DC, but did you have Image Comics in your when you were in Peru?
Nope.
So like talk a little bit about that, like the comic books that may have influenced your art, and then how did that transition into doing tattooing? Because I think I read like 1999 is when you started your first shop, or was that
99 was my no 99 was my first shop was in 1997.
okay?
1997, but 96, yeah, 1997. And I moved to a different shop in 1999,
Okay.
and I tattoo since 1994. That's when I started tattooing. While I started studying graphic design, I'm a graphic designer as a career, um, and that's where I start. I believe that I did my apprenticeship, like my self apprenticeship, while I was doing my studies of graphic design and tattooing my friends on the weekends, and was try and error. It was like
Was this in Peru?
in Peru, yeah, in Peru, and But in 1999, I make the step to make my shop bigger and start for the first time to have other artists working with me.
Ah, okay.
But before, that's why the name is Stefano's Tattoo Studio, because it was just a little studio that it was where I was doing tattoos, and it was just myself.
Yep.
And I had a computer where I was doing graphic design for some t-shirt brands or like a surf brands and stuff.
Yep.
I had a mural in my studio also that I was, I painted there to pretty much like showcase everything I do, in one little spot.
Yeah.
In 1999 was when I had the opportunity to grow and have a couple artists working with me and start growing. But the name was already in the mind of the Peruvians as a tattoo, an important tattoo studio.
Yeah.
So I didn't feel like I should change, even if it was not myself. And it's still until now, and now still that name is going strong, and I think it worked out good.
Yeah. That's good. That's good.
Mhm.
I think yeah, it's nice to see and hear about the humble beginnings, right? You start with something really small and then you expand it. And that's the community aspect. See, like that shows the history of you started
Mhm.
something with your own creativity. You know, I bet you that there's others like me that can benefit from doing something like this, and then you
Mhm.
expand it into what you're doing now. And how many shops do you currently run?
I have 5 shops now.
Oh my gosh.
I have one in Florida, one in New York, that is a newer one, and 3 in Peru.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
How do you manage so like before this call and the meditation call that I had with Akira and Bruno and Tati and my homie Jesse, who's also part of the Method Makers,
Hmm.
we were talking about how extraordinary of an individual you are with the amount of time that it may take to manage 5 shops, to also be an artist working with clients and taking time with me. Like I'm just a dude. I'm just
No,
a
no,
dude
no,
with an Instagram account, and you're here talking to me. So
no,
tell
man.
me, like, how do you manage it all? Like,
Well, I think everything is. I have the luck to have a great team of friends and family that that if that it became family. Like my starting with my brother that is it was the is the manager of one of the shops. Then Marco that is he managed 2 shops and have 2 managers there. My cousin Bror managed Florida, and my personal assistant Tanya now is also my the manager of the shop in New York. So everything actually, I have the right people for the right places, and I don't think I ever envisioned to have many tattoo shops, and it's not my goal to open more tattoo shops either.
right,
Everything fall into place naturally and and organically. It's not like I've been reached to open shops in other countries, and I always say no because I don't know anybody there. The investor who wanna do it, I don't know the person. So if it's not right for me and it's not um, how I think it should be, I don't even attempt. I don't. My goal is not to create more shops. I'm okay how I am right now, but I say the same with the first shop. When I just have one, I was like, and then I have a second one. I said, yeah, cool. And that, you can help me with that and have the right person at the moment. And then when the third came and this last one in New York, with my partner, I feel like, man, you want to take over this shop and create it? Actually, I have the perfect person that is my assistant who lives in New York. And I think that will be actually running smoothly. And I trust her 100%. And everything fall into place, not me wanting to do it, but everything it comes together. I don't know if I ever want to open one. It's not my goal to open another shop, to be honest.
yeah,
But you never know, you know.
yeah. I was gonna say, do you have any kids?
I do not have kids.
Okay.
I have I have a lot of tattoo artists. That is
So here's the thing. When you're talking about the shops and how like you didn't plan to have, you didn't plan to have like when you had one shop, you didn't say, oh, well, I think I want to have another one, like it was just kind of like that. When you talk about it, it's almost as if you're a parent because if you ever talk to parents that have like more than one kid, they're like, I didn't really plan to have another kid. It kind of just happened, right? And so I
right.
think the beauty of how you've built your business and how you're talking about how it's happened organically, it's really the universe blessing you with the ability to do so. Because if you think about like how you're saying like it was the right time and like you didn't really it doesn't sound like you forced any of this stuff to happen. It was kind of like divine intuition, right? You have
Hmm.
an assistant who um, is helping run your shop in New York. You have your brother who's helping you run another in Peru. Just like those natural progressions of things, like that's the beauty of when you know that you have something good and it will stand and last the test of time because people understand and know ingenuity and understand and know the genuineness and the kindness of your heart. Like as you're talking, I can hear and feel like your heart come through the words that you're speaking. You know what I mean? Like that's the beauty of working with people who um they just get it. Like it's not it does it those things come easily because you just know. Like
I
it's
agree.
not even I mean, you can plan as much as you want, and then of course, like a rainy day happens, and then it goes away. But for folks like us, and I'll put us in the same category of being a method maker. It's having the ability to maneuver through a lot of the challenges that you have in life and then
Mm.
find substance from something that's very difficult, like a phoenix rising from the ashes. In fact, that's like one of the tattoos that first tattoo I want to actually get. And by the way, I want to shout out my brother Moski.
Nice,
He created this shirt and you're wearing a mask very
man.
similar to this, right? uh, Akira commented on this shirt too. He was like, "I really like that shirt," and I'm like, "Yeah, this is my bro Moski." So hopefully he'll watch this and see.
Super
I
cool.
want to I want
Super
to
cool.
connect you guys. He actually is a part owner of Crimson Hilt in Colorado.
Nice.
So when you're in town, my goal is to like connect all of the method makers in
Hmm.
each state, uh, and like find a way to do something together. So
Nice, 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 nice.
yeah,
That's
uh,
great.
yeah, man. Let's see. What are the other questions I wanted to ask you? Um, so the like, how did your art style come to fruition to what it is today? Like, did your
Mhm.
art start as a, like what like how did it like was it you talking about crayons, right? Like melting wax and like maybe from that as a child and then comic books as you progressed and got older, maybe you were sketching and illustrating. But how did you get to the point of the amazing work that you're doing now? Like it
Thank you.
it just fucking boggles my mind how beautiful it is.
Thank you very much. But yes, actually, that was actually a question I didn't answer because we were caught up in
That's all
something
good.
else. But well, at the beginning, I was doing everything. I was just learning. I was doing everything. I did almost a full body suit on tribal tattoos, and I
Wow.
did lettering, and I did every traditional, neo-traditional, everything. But what sticks to me was exactly that: the comic book, the influence of comic books, um, make me appreciate lines and appreciate um, reflections of light dramatically and positions that they are not the common ones. Everything. But I was doing new school for probably more than 10 years. That is, what is new school in tattoos? It's more like cartoon.
Okay.
And I actually have one of my sleeves is a tribute to my new school beginnings. That is all like colorful
Yeah.
and actually I have the mask too here.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Man, sick.
I have the same one.
Beautiful.
um, this mask is by a Peruvian guy also. His name is Wagner. But anyways, very great artist. And and I was doing new school for so long, loving the colors, loving the warm lights and the cool lights, and I learned so much. Always, I was saying that a tattoo artist can learn more looking a comic book than looking at tattoo magazine. I always said that in certain back in the day when I was doing that, and somebody asked me, just take attention to these masters illustrators that they draw comic books. They have so much knowledge about everything. And I didn't. I love the characters like the Hulk, one of my favorites, Wolverine. Depending
Yeah.
on each company, I have my favorite. But what really because you fall in love in a character, you know, you are like a
Yeah.
more similar than one. But I mean, what it keep me looking at them. I remember I was looking for the magazine Wizard.
Okay.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
That's the
It's like
price guide.
the what?
That was a price guide. The Wizard magazine.
The
You're talking
Wizard magazine. Yeah,
like for comics, right?
for comics. Yeah,
Yeah.
that is a feature one, and you have a lot of information there, and what is coming, and what it, and you can see a lot of the illustrators there.
Yes.
Interviews to illustrate, and that's what I mean. You know, Madureira was one of my favorites. I remember, and I don't just try to investigate from Peru that we don't have any much information. I was going to the same place where I was getting my tattoo magazines was a flea market. That's
Yeah.
where I was getting the comic books too.
Yep.
And I was those were my Bibles to learn. That was my Bible. I was just I was eating them page by page and analyzing the lines, and I was like, these freaking guys are like amazing and that I was passionate about the line work that now maybe I can just talk a little bit later that I'm trying to go back a little bit with lines and strokes in my realism now that is
Yeah.
coming back from my beginnings, you know.
Mm.
But later I have the opportunity to being asked to do a portrait and to do a color portrait. And I always drew my family's portraits, you know, with a pencil. I
Right.
never associate that with tattoos at all
Mhm.
because for me, tattoos were outlines, shading in dark, and then the darker colors to the lightest colors. That was tattoos for me. Very traditional. That's how I was seeing in the magazine, and I learned. And what people were asking, you know, lines and then color inside, and that was what it was. But later, it came a brief of actually California guys like Nico Hurtado, Mike DeMasi, Mike DeVries, and all these guys who start doing color realism. And that was when, for me, everything changed.
Mm.
I was like, literally, like I didn't understood how they could do that. All everything I learned from doing outlines and then filling it with colors, all these rules were broken by these guys who were doing color portrait realism, that they were not doing that. They were not doing lines at all. They were just painting in the skin. And I was like, I cannot believe I was I didn't know where to start. You know, I was like, how I start on that? How you know? So I had to go to conventions and check it out and check
Yeah.
how they were doing it. Oh man, that's how they do it. There
Yeah.
were not internet at the time. They were just magazines. There were not
Yeah. Exactly.
no Instagram,
Yeah.
no MySpace. Even
Yep.
back they were not none of those.
Yep. It's funny you mentioned this. I'll only just like insert one small thing here. You and I basically grew up in the same generation because like we both know the Wizard comic book guide. It was a price guide for people who don't know Wizard in the mid 90s to the early 90s, early to the mid 90s, Wizard was just like what you described, a place where people would. There was no fucking internet, guys. There was no internet. There's no social media. Like
Mhm.
91 to 95 or 6, I don't know how long Wizard was. You'd have to Google it. But the Wizard Guide was exactly what Stefano was talking about. It was a place where you'd learn about new artists, new comic books that were coming out, new storylines of things. Like that's how I found out about Image Comics, Todd McFarlane, Jim Lee, Wallace Portacio, by the way, who was one of the first Filipino artists that was able to make a mainstay name for himself. And Image Comics, by the way, was the fuck you to Marvel and DC because as
Mhm.
artists they didn't have that creative freedom of expression in order to do the work that they really wanted to do. They were kind of like those Disney animators that would put the hidden messages in movies and shit. Like
Right.
they wanted to break out and do something like that, and so they created Image, and that's kind of what the method makers are, right? So,
Yep.
so yeah, I mean, like, uh, we're from like the same generation, and you're talking about how this breakthrough of this new school art, like in tattooing, like basically using the skin as a canvas and painting portraits with color, where you typically would only see it in the traditional ink tattoo type of style, right?
Right.
Um, so how did you like tell us about that journey? You're now like learning about this stuff. You're like, oh my god, like where the fuck do I start?
Exactly. Exactly. I know. So that was what's going on, and I was like, man, I want to do one of those. You know, when somebody came to the shop and asked for a portrait, I remember that I suggested if I can do it and maybe in color. Yeah, I can do it also in color. You know, if you want it, I can try it. Da, da, da. And I showed them pretty much what it was. You know, other examples of other artists. You know, and it's like, yeah, 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 I'm in for that. So I tried, and I love it. And I love that I've been doing like a more realistic because we live in color. You know,
Yeah.
so um, and then I was fascinated, man. There were around those times were the time when I was coming to the US to do guest spots and to buy some supplies and stuff like that. I was coming every year for 1 to 2 months, sometimes 3 months,
Hmm.
and doing guest spots, traveling, and then I was a little bit afraid of you know, immigration and on the fourth year or something, they were telling me like, you are coming every year and you stay for 2 months, and I was like, yes.
Hmm.
And so I decided to actually open a shop with my cousin here in Florida, so I can have a reason to come and be stay longer if I want, and you know, with all the proper paperwork, you know, for that. And making story short, we were not able to open the shop for some kind of issues of zoning,
Hmm.
and I started traveling the U.S. doing conventions and putting my name out there. I was not before that. I didn't know how the conventions circuit worked,
Hmm.
but a friend of mine told me that it's the New York Philadelphia convention, and it's the biggest on in the United States. So you should come and everything. It was sold out already. My friend helped me to get in because he knew the promoter. He opened a spot for me, so I prepare myself for the convention that I wanted people. That was my first introduction, me as an artist to America, you know, to United States, you know.
Yep.
First time doing a convention, and I was like, man, I cannot. I study advertising. That was my career. So I thought like, okay, I need to create an impact if I'm coming here for the first time. I think the first impression is always what
Right.
you know, it create an impact. So I wanted to be a color portrait artist.
Hmm.
So and I did just one in Peru, and not in the US. I didn't have oh yeah, there is a talking on Instagram, Melissa, that is my piercer. Um, I went to visit them for one of these conventions I was doing before,
Yeah.
I went to visit them for a month doing a guest spot over there, and we went to a convention actually there. But when I went to Philadelphia, I wanted to be a color portrait artist, so I didn't have a portfolio of that. So I have just tattoos of everyday tattoo shop walk-ins and ideas of customers, and I didn't have nothing the artist I wanted to be. So I reached four of my friends. Man, I want to do color portraits. Who is ready? And I remember I did probably in the 2 weeks before the convention, I did four color portraits in the laundry room of my cousin's house because I didn't have a studio there.
Yeah.
So I was doing color portraits. I remember to my friend Marlo, I did a Uncle Fester of Adam Family, and I do a few others. So because I didn't have a portfolio of what I want to show, I just put them in a frame,
Yeah.
four of them. But that was not. If I put it in a portfolio, I will have 4 pages or 2 pages, one, two, three, four, and then empty.
Yeah.
So I actually put them in a frame, 4 frames, and I make cards, and that's
Ah,
it.
yeah,
So
yeah.
when people show up, people probably will think that that was my best work and I would have showcase,
Yeah.
but not that it was my only four.
Yeah.
So I wanted to people to ask me for that kind of work.
Right.
So that's the only thing I showed. I didn't show that I can do new school, that I can do
Right.
traditional, new school Japanese, or I can
Right.
do tribal, or I can anything. But I didn't want to show that, so because I wanted to know and wanted people to ask me for realism in color.
Yeah.
And surely, I got the call from two shops at a moment. So, and one of them also it was a website that is it was called Ink Nation, where we had many every day we have tattoo of the day. So
Mhm.
imagine like on Instagram right now, but imagine everybody upload their work every day or whatever. But in between tattoo artists, one of them people can vote and see what is the best tattoo of the uploads of today.
Mm.
So I was being there, and then people recognize, oh, you are the guy on the Ink Nation that is, I was doing pretty good there, and I got the invitation from Last Rights um, to work there, and the rest history. I moved here because that opportunity, and I'm here now. So, well, I was hired as a color portrait artist, of course,
Right.
but I was the only color artist at Last Ride. It was Paul Booth, it was Little Dragon, it was Toxic, and me.
Mm.
We were four artists at the shop, and all of them they were doing black and gray freehand work,
Mhm.
and I was doing stencil for the portraits. I'd make a
Wow.
stencil, and all these guys were doing freehand with the Sharpie, and I
Wow.
was like, these guys are freaking masters.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm doing I felt like, well, I understand that for portrait you want to be as accurate as you want,
Right.
but just seeing that freedom and creativity right on the spot inspired me to also do the same. Also was blow my mind, same as they blow my mind the color portraits at the beginning. I was like, I want to do that too,
Yep.
like.
Yep.
And you
Exactly.
have me now doing a lot of black and gray. People start asking me to do more black and gray than color. I love color too, but black and gray has this feeling or vibe that I really enjoy, and I'm just having more fun now than ever. Right now I'm more happy to tattoo, and I'm enjoying it more than I have 26 years tattooing, and
Wow.
right now I'm more excited than before. you know, like like I cannot wait to create new projects. I feel like I'm just starting, you know. That's my feeling in everything. I feel like okay, finally I'm gonna start doing something, you know. I don't in anything, in painting, in tattooing. I'm just I feel like a beginner, like right now sitting down talking to you. I feel like I'm excited to I'm ready to start, you know. So
Beautiful. That's a beautiful way to think, you know, because and a beautiful way to feel because the energy and the passion that you have in what you're talking about right now, it's conveyed in the way that you're speaking and conveyed in the way that you're talking to me about what you want to do. And um kind of leads me to my next question is, you know, what kind of you went from this new school form of tattooing portraits in color. You talked a little bit about the was it gray and black or
back in there, yes, yep.
black and gray type of tattooing. What is it that you enjoy most right now? What kind of tattooing and you know what kind of things would you like to do more of? You know, put it out there right now for everybody
Sure.
in Instagram world. Oh, it looks like our thing ended. Let
Yeah,
me
just right now. Just put it share so you share it and people can watch it later on.
I'll do that, and then we will go here. See here. We go next, and then I'll try to rejoin the. I'll
Yeah,
try.
rejoin and I go back to that. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, that thing's waiting.
Mm-hmm.
Um. Yeah. So I guess talk a little bit about the what is it that you aspire to do now? Like, what's like the project that you would say you know could be the thing that um. Oh, what more kind of work would you like to do?
Right, exactly. Um, I'm very happy with the black and gray um as a technique and and as a way of tattooing. But lately, I'm really like wanting to do bigger scale images,
Yeah.
doing back pieces or full sleeves, and less of a little element and more like a one big scene, you know,
Yeah.
more like how you would do in a painting, you know. It's
Right.
just one thing, one thing, not many. And also with a little bit of color in the black and gray, not as a whole color piece, but as a tint or as a hint of color, almost like a shading of color kind of thing.
Yeah.
That I actually did one on Akira. That is a different technique of color that is not saturating fully the whole piece, but
Okay.
saturating just the darker areas and then shading as a I'm shading black and gray,
Yeah.
but I'm doing it in color. So, and I was really happy with the outcome and really happy how it looks. So I'm really wanting to do more of that in my next project. I have a couple pieces that I have in not in mind, but I mean already with the with the people who want to get those pieces, but I have to design them because they are larger pieces that I have to take a little bit more time on developing the imagery and the size and the location and everything to put it before you start, you know. So
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
in that moment right now with those next pieces.
Yeah. Um, one of the other questions I had, I'm trying to let this thing upload and then I'm gonna
Yep.
try
Yep.
to rejoin. But for the show, the social distance show, I haven't been doing a good job. Like I've been so focused on trying to create this content and
Uh-huh.
trying to get everybody um, to just at least do the podcast is really important to me because what I'm actually trying to achieve is I'll take this content and it's actually good that we're not sharing this on Instagram because this is kind of like a trade secret. So between you and I, this is kind of like our non-disclosure agreement or whatever. But
Awesome.
basically, what I'm trying to do is I don't think I ever told you this, but like literally 21 years I've been doing this this type of work. I've run um, clothing line websites since 2003 or
Mhm.
2004,
Mhm.
and before social media was a thing, like you and I were part of the generation where there was nothing, and now there's like this entire connection to the world, right? And
Right.
what we're trying to do, what I've learned from the experience of trying to sell online, is that the more that you can engage with the audience, like from your mobile device or from your computer or whatever, the
Mhm.
easier it will be for them to connect with the work that they're trying to buy. And so,
Mhm.
what I'm trying to do is take this content and have, like, let's say you're shopping for artwork online, right? The artwork experience, like, people buy a lot of artwork from galleries because you can physically see it and you can touch it, and like if you're lucky enough on opening night the artist is there, you can talk
Right.
to the artist about the work, right? But
Right.
that's not there so much when you're online. But if you could take the experience of this recording, like this Zoom call, or snippets of it, and you start talking about the work that you do on canvas, and
Mhm.
you're describing, the lines of this work that's on this portrait. It's really inspired by the depths of my experience in Lima, Peru, where it was a really hard time, a struggle, or whatever. And that essence is captured not just from your voice, but from your heart. And
Mhm.
the viewer who's looking at that hears that, and they're like, "Oh shit, this like maybe they already wanted to buy it, and
Mhm.
you're telling them something that connects to their psyche. Maybe they are also from Lima, Peru, and they had a very similar experience, and
Mhm.
they're even more inclined to purchase it because number one, they want to support you, but also number two, it's something that means something much more deeper to them. And I feel like this content that we're creating, it's important because it's not just a beautiful image. It's like there's real depth and sincere care with the work that we're trying to accomplish, right?
Mhm.
So yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. Like this, that's what's going to happen is like, this content is shared across different mediums, and it'll be on our site. And yeah,
That's fantastic. That's fantastic because they are like able to see the artist talking about their work and being the essence of every artist on this platform. I think it's great. I think it's fantastic.
absolutely. And
But most of the artists, I don't know, but most of the painters and artists, I didn't see much of art podcast that I know, like known or anything like this. I think it's I see a couple happening, but not they didn't blow. They did not too mainstream, I guess, or some also because art some of the art is not that mainstream too. Some of them it is, but I mean not everybody, in that in some of the artists I appreciate and everything, they are not too mainstream.
yeah,
So it's hard to find material about them seeing them or talking. Most artists they don't like to put their pictures either, so they just put the you don't even know how they look.
yeah, exactly.
I don't know. I'm a visual person, and I really connect when I see the face of the artist. I know you can see for the body language also what kind of person it is. I like actually to know before I buy an artwork. I like to know the artist too.
Yeah,
Like I don't know. Well, one day I will show you, but I have my home is full of artwork of different artists. I'm a collector as well. Like I have a collection of close to 40 to 50 pieces originals
yeah.
from my
Wow.
favorite artist. And I still buy in, and I still love like to have like I don't know if you can see, but I don't know, this is my
Oh,
this
beautiful.
living room. I have a few in the other side too, in my room, and everything is full of original artwork from different artists that I admire. So I'm very passionate about knowing the artist because most of them, not all of them, but my favorite pieces are the pieces that I know the artist. I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So I'm going to show you. So I just got a text from my wife, and I got to go in to help with my kid. But I want
Yep.
to share, since you're talking about your artwork.
Mm-hmm.
Um, three things that I want to do. The first thing is to show you the first piece of artwork that I bought from Akira and
Nice.
what connected us both. When I get to Florida, there are two things that will happen. Um, the first thing is um, if there's no pandemic, I'll give you a hug. But if there is a pandemic, then we'll do this or we'll do this or something, right? Um,
Sounds good.
and the second thing I'll
I
do is
can I can put a motorcycle helmet if you want, and we can
there you
be
go.
like.
Then you can back it off. Yeah. Um, the second thing I'll probably do is give you this. I don't know if Akira ever told you about this, but um, when Akira and I met at the Upper Playground Gallery back in 2013,
Mhm.
I was just starting the Method Makers um, gallery in San Francisco as well, like trying to figure out some artists that I wanted to put into the space and things like that. The first piece of artwork that I bought was this piece, and
Nah,
this is um, this is Akira and his ex, and he
yes.
painted this piece of artwork um, after they broke up. And basically, like, I don't know if you know the story, but like his this is his lover for like 5 years, and she basically cheated on him with the gallery owner of um, the gallery he was exhibiting at, and they end up starting a relationship. I don't know if they're still together. They probably, but anyway, this is obviously a portrait of him and his girlfriend at the time, and every single thought, every single word that's here is the the like a happy memory. So he basically painfully painted this and like went through this like just amazing, crazy. Like why would you put yourself through so much pain? But the beauty of the work, it's like you wouldn't know that unless Akira actually told you that, right? And so
Right.
I was gonna buy the artwork anyway, but after I met him and he talked about it, and I was like, holy shit! And now, years later, like owning this piece of artwork, and I hang it up in the studio, and I think about how hard it was to actually create this, but how beautiful it came out. It's almost like a symbol of life, dude. It's
I
like
agree 100%.
we go through so much struggle, so much pain, and so much of this agonizing depth in your heart, but you create beauty from that. You know what I mean?
I agree 100%, and I think besides being a healing experience, I think also it's good going back to the positive thing that I was talking before. I think I don't know, but my thought when Akira was painting it is just to have the good memories on that on your mind and take away the bad the bad memories or whatever make them break up, but just remember the good, because if you remember all the time the bad things, it's drowning you, and
Yep.
not good for your spirit anyways. Just keep the good memories and move on. And I
Yep.
think it's a beautiful piece in that way, because you are just showing that good side, like besides the pain and and whatever happened afterwards, he's still just showing the good part of her. Like he's,
Exactly.
it could be a completely different, demonizing her or demonizing the relationship. But I think it's a beautiful piece in that sense, that is a um very wise in that way, I think.
Yeah. And it shows the character of the individual, not just as an artist, but it's like you never have anything bad to say despite your torturer, like despite like it's almost like Nelson Mandela getting out of jail. Like he was incarcerated for many, many years, decades, I think. And then he finally gets out and he has nothing bad to say about any of his captors, even though they spit on him and they hurt him and they beat him and did all these things. It's like he can still walk out with a clear conscience and not have any resentment.
Hmm.
Because like everyone has their own path, their own life where they need to go. And I'm not going to say that I haven't resented any of the things that I've had in my past and challenged, but as we grow older, we have more wisdom. We realize and recognize that these are things that are important, right?
I agree 100% with that.
Yeah. Uh, this is the last thing I'll show you, and I think if you're cool with it, maybe we can do another episode next week, or depending on the time. Like,
Next
um,
week for me will be great, I think.
yeah, that would be awesome. Because I think there's a lot more that we could talk about. But this is the last thing I want to show you. This is the sketchbook that I want to give you to put some work in if you'd be interested.
Yes.
This is Akira's sketch in the book. This is the first piece of artwork in this sketchbook. Uh,
Wow.
and and I will say, like, this is the reason why he's a method maker. Like, I gave him the book, and the whole point of this sketchbook was an artist sketching it. We do an interview with them. They pass it on to the next artist, and the next artist will do the same. And this has been around the world. This book has been to the Philippines. It's been to New York.
Wow.
Been everywhere. You know, there's
That's why in the group you were saying, did you get the sketch? And I was like, I wonder if he sent sketches to everybody and I don't get in it. I was a little confused. I was like, man, I hope it's in the mail. Maybe it's a delay.
so,
I feel like I was doing something wrong, like something like fuck, I need a sketch, man. And then one sketch then.
so
Just one sketchbook. Okay.
yeah, leads me to one thing. So I have to apologize because in the original show of the artists that we have in it, you're kind of a late entry. Like, I kind of on the whim just said, would you be interested in being part of our show? And you're like, oh yes, of course. And so, did you, by the way, get the care package I sent to the tattoo shop yet? There's you have the vintage matchbooks, and then like there's some stickers and a bunch of other stuff. Did you get that yet?
I don't think I get it yet. Or maybe I'm gonna.
Akira might have it, because I basically put your package and his in one box. And in there you have materials to paint if you decide, or it's up to you. There's like vintage matchbooks and things like that. I was gonna ask you for the show. We're gonna create deadlines for when the work will be due, but I have to get better at, part of these things is figuring out what kind of artwork you wanted to put in the show. So I want it to be free flowing. You decide on what you want it to do, but the theme is social distance. So that could be COVID-19. It could be, like we talked about the whole thing about Gats and how he had somebody come out and see one of his murals, and it changed their perception on like, that mental thing that you could be in when you experience depression or feeling like you're suicidal or whatever. But yeah, so it can go along those themes. And I think it might be good. What I'll probably do is try to have a meeting with everybody. Maybe we'll do like one big group meeting, like either a Zoom call or actually maybe we'll do a Zoom call with all the artists and have everyone meet. And we can just have a big session where everyone can ask questions. We could talk about deadlines and all that kind of stuff.
Great.
And that could be a session for all of us to sketch, play music. You know what I mean? Everyone can drink coffee, beer, whatever.
Love it.
Just hang out. So
love it.
Okay. But yeah, on that note, I will let me know if this time, around this time next week, if that's good for you. Maybe we can do another hour session. Would it work for you?
Sounds good. Work for me.
Yeah. Okay. I'll send you another invite then. But yeah, brother, I really appreciate you, man. Like,
thank you very much, man.
You've done so much.
No, that was a pleasure, and I'm looking forward for next week, actually.
Yeah, likewise.
Awesome, man. Thank you.
Okay.
I let you go with the family. I have to do my things too.
Yeah. All right, Stefano. We'll talk soon, brother.
Nice to meet you, man. Take care.
Bye.
All right, y'all. Thank you for listening to this edition of the Method Makers Podcast. Be sure to check out themethodmakers.com to learn more about all the artists we support. Check out all the links below to dive deeper into the projects that the artist is currently working on. Remember to subscribe to our podcast for your constant dose of the Method Makers, courtesy of the Method Made Design Lab. Peace to you and yours, and we'll catch you soon.